Welcome to the Trump Breaking News Network, your daily source for up-to-the-minute Trump news. Join us today and every day. Here's today's news.
This is TBNN.
We interrupt this video to bring you a special announcement. We will continue with your video after this short announcement. There is a massive boycott with YouTube and its advertisers happening right now. This boycott threatens our existence, as well as the entire YouTube channel database. You can do a search on Google to confirm this boycott. We urge you to help by supporting our channel with a $1 donation, just $1, to help offset our growing expenses. Our staff is working diligently to keep you informed and up to date on events and intel that you have grown accustomed to receiving. Our staff produce over 70 videos on a daily basis in English and in Spanish. This is a tremendous undertaking. This is why we use a computerized voice, because of the massive amount of information we provide for you. We accept PayPal donations, and our donation link is below in our description. When the boycott is over, we'll let you know. This is a serious situation for YouTube and its advertisers. If you appreciate our channel and the intel that we provide for you, then please consider this much needed $1 donation. I want to personally thank you in advance for your support. Victory of the light. And now, here is your scheduled video.
Robert Reich, Trump voters realize the hard way that the president can't follow through. 1. President Donald Trump said he wouldn't bomb Syria. You bought it. Then he bombed Syria. 2. He said he'd build a wall along the border with Mexico. You bought it. Now his Secretary of Homeland Security says, it's unlikely that we will build a wall. 3. He said he'd clean the Washington swamp. You bought it. Then he brought into his administration more billionaires, CEOs and Wall Street moguls than in any administration in history to make laws that will enrich their businesses. 4. He said he'd repeal Obamacare and replace it with something wonderful. You bought it. Then he didn't. 5. He said he'd use his business experience to whip the White House into shape. You bought it. Then he created the most chaotic, dysfunctional, backstabbing White House in modern history, in which no one is in charge. 6. He said he'd release his tax returns, eventually. You bought it. He hasn't and says he never will. 7. He said he'd divest himself from his financial empire, to avoid any conflicts of interest. You bought it. He remains heavily involved in his businesses, makes money off of foreign dignitaries staying at his Washington hotel, gets China to give the Trump brand trademark and copyright rights, manipulates the stock market on a daily basis and has more conflicts of interest than can even be counted. 8. He said Clinton was in the pockets of Goldman Sachs, and would do whatever they said. You bought it. Then he put half a dozen Goldman Sachs executives in positions of power in his administration. 9. He said he'd surround himself with all the best and smartest people. You bought it. Then he put Betsy DeVos, opponent of public education, in charge of education, Jeff Sessions, opponent of the Voting Rights Act, in charge of voting rights, Ben Carson, opponent of the Fair Housing Act, in charge of fair housing, Scott Pruitt, climate change denier, in charge of the Environmental Protection Agency, and Russian Quisling Rex Tillerson as Secretary of State. 10. He said he'd faithfully execute the law. You bought it. Then he said his predecessor, Barack Obama, spied on him, without any evidence of Obama ever doing so, in order to divert attention from the FBI's investigation into collusion between his campaign and Russian operatives to win the election. 11. He said he knew more about strategy and terrorism than the generals did. You bought it. Then he green-lighted a disastrous raid in Yemen even though his generals said it would be a terrible idea. This raid resulted in the deaths of a Navy SEAL, an 8-year-old American girl and numerous civilians. The actual target of the raid escaped, and no useful intel was gained. 12. He called Barack Obama the vacationer-in-chief and accused him of playing more rounds of golf than Tiger Woods. He promised to never be the kind of president who took cushy vacations on the taxpayer's dime, not when there was so much important work to be done. You bought it. He has by now spent more taxpayer money on vacations than Obama did in the first 3 years of his presidency. Not to mention all the money taxpayers are spending protecting his family, including his 2 sons who travel all over the world on Trump business. 13. He called CNN, The Washington Post and The New York Times fake news and said they were his enemy. You bought it. Now he gets his information from Fox News, Breitbart, Gateway Pundit, and InfoWars. More to come.
That's the news. Join us here every day. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell. See you next time.
This is TBNN.